Welcome back to MOI Talks, the podcast for all things weddings here on Galveston Island. I am here with Browne. Dawn is the creative mind behind Degrees North Images, and she also helps us behind the scenes here at MOI with vetting our vendors and curating some amazing content for y'all. We are just going to dive into, weddings in Galveston, photographing, tips for couples, tips for Galveston weddings, and things like that.
It's a big subject.
It is a big subject. It is a big subject. And I know we've got a few questions in our back pockets that we are definitely going to bring up. But tell us about Galveston weddings and shooting weddings on the island. What is that like?
It's definitely different from shooting weddings in Houston. I think couples that come to Galveston they just have different personalities. They're looking for different services than you might find in, we'll say, a big city or at least a bigger city. Obviously, Houston's like the fourth largest city in the country, so that's a big difference from that to Galveston, which is considered a small town. So
yes, it's a very small town.
Yeah, there's definitely some nuances to planning a wedding on the island and photography on the island.
Can you give me one of those?
Well, as we were waiting outside to come in this morning, I was like, whoa, this humidity is, it's, working with my hair today. So there's that, which you obviously know all about.
Yes, yeah. Dealing with hair and makeup. There's certain styles right now. We are in the summer months, those hot, humid months, and that heat came quick and it came fast this year. And the seaweed on the beach is going to show that. If you guys didn't know, that seaweed blooms at a certain temperature, so the ocean had to get that warm for us to get that much seaweed. So stop complaining about the seaweed. It's healthy and it's good for our ecosystem.
I know.
But, when you're planning a wedding, that is something you need to consider. Right now is that time for those blooms, and they are washing in, and it does stink, and it does kind of, not look pretty. It's healthy for us.
If it's freshly put out, it doesn't look terrible.
You can't really predict a year out what the seaweed blooms are going to look like on the beach.
Because it could happen as late as July. It could happen, this year, we were already up in the hundreds in May, so it's, who's to say?
Right.
I can't plan that for you.
No.
I have control over a lot of things, but I don't have control over the weather.
No, or the seaweed.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it is, our beaches are protected, and you can't clear that seaweed. So you got to live with it. And if you're choosing a beach wedding, those are things you got to consider. But moving on from the seaweed, you specialize more in kind of micro weddings, elopements, correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and your style and more of your adventure photography?
So I will do weddings of any size, but I particularly specialize in like anything that's like 50 or fewer guests. They just have a completely different feel to them. Vibe isn't really the right word, but it's close enough, I guess. Just usually those couples they're not trying to do every trend that exists on the internet. They're really like focused on each other and how they're going to feel that day. So that's something that really appeals to me as a photographer because I feel like we can collaborate more because everything isn't so like, at 12:12 you're going to have 3 minutes to go to the bathroom before 12:15 when we have to be at the ceremony, and like just I can do that. I did that for years, and I'm every once in a while I have a couple, and I have a wedding in August in New Jersey, and they're having 180 people. But again, their like focus is on each other, and like they're creating space for us to have that time to like do their couple portraits and all that stuff. So it's kind of more, not every couple is like good for me, you know, and I'm not good for every couple.
Right.
So I just kind of like try to work with people that are inquiring with me to see like, are we a good fit? Are we going to work well together? Do they get me? Do I get them? Because if not, I'm like super happy to like refer them on to somebody else who I know that is like really great at those things that they're like really interested in. So, but yeah, I really love the small ones. Like I love like the way the families are is so different. They're just like really focused on like being together, and that just like really resonates with me.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
So, you know, with Galveston, it's not just the beach and, you know, the beach ceremonies or elopements. There's so many options here, whether it's downtown, it's historic. We have parks, we have indoor, outdoor venues, there are waterfront venues. So, you know, with that being said, if you could shoot only one type of wedding here in Galveston, what would that be?
I love a boat. So if you are getting married on a boat, or maybe you're getting married at a regular venue, but afterwards you're like leaving your guests behind and you're going to go do like a sunset cruise or something, like, please call me. I love a boat. Although I will say, I also stan a theme. So like particularly a Disney theme. So if you're having a Disney themed event, also please call me. But I was so excited. I just read an article like, I don't know, maybe a week ago that Disney Cruise Line has been talking about coming here like permanently for years, and it looks like they might be starting in like 2027.
Really?
So, yeah, if you are getting on a Disney boat,
Yes.
please call me.
Yeah. So I actually get a lot, you know, doing the hair and makeup portion of weddings. We get a lot of cruise ship brides.
Yeah.
And we're getting them ready before they ever get on the ship to do their ceremony. And I love them because, you know, we're done by like 9 a.m.
I know. They're super early.
Yes. Have you ever gone on the ship with them, been booked to go?
No, but I totally would.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of couples do. Like, I know a lot of the ships have photographers, but you kind of don't know who you're getting. You can't pick their style. You just kind of get what you get. So I know a lot of couples do bring a photographer with them, and hair and makeup too, because again, with the salon, like you have no idea. It's an extra expense, but it's something you can count on. So it's not. I think it's really the norm that they hire outside services to come with them. Because like florists and stuff, like they have the bouquets that they have, like that's kind of what you're gonna get. So because out at sea, but I would totally like, let's go. You know, we can do extra sessions too. Like
along the way, absolutely, super cool. I've gotten the inquiries to go on the ships with them, but I don't think they understand too, you know, those days that you're gone at sea and you can't work are still days that need to be paid for. Yeah. So there's a little misconception about how much that is going to be. So it's going to be a little bit more than just booking for the one day. Yeah. You still got to accommodate for those days that you're traveling and you can't work. At least for me. Yeah. But I guess, you know, if you were to book additional sessions throughout that week and really utilize that time and having those professionals with you on that vacation, you can really, really capitalize on some amazing moments. Yeah.
And if you want the boat, but you don't want to go on the cruise, like we got boats. Like we got sailboats, we got catamarans, we got like
the tall ship Alyssa.
Yes. I'm dying to do that one.
Yeah, we've had a bride get married on that, and those photos were iconic. Yeah, and the small setups that they can do, that little private dinner on the ship is, wow. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's stunning.
And they can do big weddings and small weddings because they can do the big weddings like on the dock, right? Yes. You know, so that's your background. Or you can, if you have smaller group, you can go on the actual ship, which is also cool. So like. even with stuff like that, like it can be big or small. We have so many venues that are like that. Like you could have 20 people or you could have 200 people, and it still looks good either way. Like it looks like it's meant to look.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many options on the island for, style, for size. We really can accommodate any type of wedding here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes Galveston so unique and so different from a major city like Houston.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have your cookie cutter venues. We don't have barns that have just been thrown up on the countryside in the middle of nowhere. When your guests come to Galveston, it's a vacation for them too.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of people. I would say like 60% of my couples are from like outside of the state. Mm-hmm. And then I do have a lot of people that are coming from like Austin, Dallas. It's actually a pretty small percentage of my clients that are actual locals. Like, and even people that are coming from Houston for their weddings, they're staying overnight. They're staying the weekend. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to like get their hair and makeup done in Houston and then drive down here to be down here in time for their wedding. They're just booking 3-4 nights at a hotel and just making a whole thing of it.
Yeah,
which,
you should.
Yeah.
And so are their guests, and I think that's what the coolest thing about that is. I know, we also got married here on the island, and our guests were planning their trips around the restaurants they wanted to visit. The food.
Always, yeah.
I think that's just a true testament to my family is we plan our trips around the places we want to eat.
I do that too. Like I'm born and raised in Michigan, and every time I go home, I like have this list, this rotating list of restaurants to go to. It's like I don't even know what's going on in town, like festivals and all that. I'm just like, we need to go to these restaurants.
Yes, absolutely. So, with it being an island, obviously we've got fresh seafood here. We've got fresh fish markets. We do have, meat markets, and we have our Italian, market, Maceo's. I mean, whatever you want, you can find it here.
Yeah.
And we really do have gourmet chefs, gourmet fine dining. The options are limitless. There's something for everyone here. Yeah. And you can still get 5-star service and walk in right off the beach. Mm-hmm. It's pretty unique, and it's really special what you can find here. Have you ever had a shoot go completely sideways because of weather or unexpected circumstances?
Who among us hasn't? Being a photographer, and a wedding planner would align with this too, is just, it's like trying to manage 7 things all at one time. Like you're trying to keep an eye on the time, keep an eye on the timeline that you made with the couple, know where everybody that is like important to the event is at. So I've definitely had some over the years where, sometimes it's things that are out of people's control, like the weather. We might have to move around something. We might have to, maybe they wanted to do a first look outside, but we can't go outside because it's downpouring right now. So we have to find a different location, and that can take a couple of minutes, and then that can kind of put you behind. I do try to keep an eye on those things. Like if I show up to a wedding and we know it's going to rain at some point, like as I'm blowing through different corners of a venue or a location, I'll be like, that would be a great spot for a first look. That'd be a great spot for, bridal portraits if we can't go outside. That'd be, it's just a constant, it's funny because like I'll like mention that to like my dad or somebody, and he's like, that just sounds like 8 hours of anxiety. I'm like, yeah, kinda. That's kind of accurate actually. But I had an elopement a couple years ago. Well, I guess it was like just last year. Time has no meaning anymore. They had their sunrise elopement on the beach, and we were like watching a thunderstorm come in, and it's like, are we going to be able to have the ceremony on the beach? Luckily we were able to, but they had a sailboat charter for like right after that. And like, we're trying to talk to the captain because like, should we go to the dock or not go to the dock? And that ended up getting canceled. And of course it didn't rain.
Oh my God.
And the thunderstorm went away.
Of course.
You know, but like in that moment, like they had their heart set on that. They had planned that. And, you know, we had to make adjustments in the moment about what to do. So
right.
At the end of the day, I don't care. Like, I will just present options to the couple and, like, I'll do whatever you want. Like,
right.
Here's what I think we could do. That would be a good idea. But, you know, I've had weddings where we'll say family members or the wedding party were, like, causing issues to delay things. I had one where dinner was delayed an hour because one of the mothers kept adding formal photos. Oh. So like after the ceremony, we're doing all the formal photos, and like I have a list that I've worked on with the couple. Like that's the list. You know, I always try to like advocate for my couple to be like, do you want me to stop this? Because I will.
Right.
And then I can be the bad guy.
Yeah.
But I ultimately have to do what the couple wants.
Right.
So if they feel pressured or like it's going to be a whole thing later for them and it's just easier to deal with it in the moment, like, you know, then I have to go along with that. Right. So it was frustrating for the guests because they were already waiting. But a lot of it is just, you know, we are a service business. Yes, the end product is photos. There, you know, there is a product involved, but like, ultimately, we're a service business first.
Right.
So we have to serve whatever it is that our clients want. And sometimes it's not what we would want for them,
right.
but we have to just do it anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All kinds of things can happen on a wedding day.
Yes. Yes, they can.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard comments from couples that I've referred you to that you shot their wedding about how detailed you were with your inquiry process and sending over mock timelines of, hey, you know, if you book me, this is how your wedding day is going to go. This is the kind of timing I suggest for what you're wanting. And they were just completely blown away by, you know, what you were handing over to them. And, you know, I don't say, you know, take this comment and run with it, guys. You know, planners are, they serve a purpose. But, you know, their comment was, well, we don't even need a planner with Dawn. You know, Dawn's done our timeline for us. and I had the same reaction when he was telling me this, but this is coming from the groom. Yeah. Ladies, this is coming from the groom. Yeah. But, you know, he was just, you know, so excited about you and just could not stop tooting your horn about, you know, just your process and the information that you provided and your guidance.
And sometimes that's true. Like, depending on what kind of event you're having, you maybe don't need a planner.
Right.
But sometimes it is really helpful, especially if you're having a traditional sized wedding. And something I would want all couples to know is just because the venue said they're giving you a planner, that is not a wedding planner. There is a difference. That planner is there to manage the venue, not your wedding. So you need to consider still hiring a wedding planner.
Yes.
And, you know, hiring a wedding planner is similar in a lot of ways to hiring a photographer because you have to hire somebody who gets what you're trying to do, gets what your priorities are, and also gets along with you.
Yeah.
And is going to advocate for you. So, you know, those are really like it. It's like the planner, the photographer, and the DJ. They're the ones that are like that you're going to be like really interacting with and like having a relationship for most of your like wedding events. So yeah, but yeah, there's certain things, like if you're eloping and like you're doing your ceremony on the beach and then we're like going to do activities, we don't need a wedding planner. I'm the wedding planner.
Yeah.
Like I'm the one that's telling you where to be, when to be there, like what's going to happen, all that stuff.
But if you want a full arch with flowers and you want the sand raked,
yes,
you need a planner.
Yes. At a minimum, a decor company.
Right.
And I've said that a lot because people think they're just going to go set an arch out on the beach, and I'm like, they will blow over. I don't even need to know anything else. It's going to blow over. Wind and tides exist. A decor company or a planner is going to literally, they show up to the beach with drills. Like they drill into the sand. Like that stuff has to be anchored down. There's a lot of things to like keep an eye out for. Like you need to be past the wet sand, but like past the wet sand and then a little bit, because there's a thing called sneaker waves that can like go past the wet sand because the tides change, boats go by, all these kinds of things. Like this time of year, it's turtle nesting season. So if you see drag marks from turtles, you need to be like away from that. Like there's all these kinds of like very specific things that the decor people that do that on the beach,
right,
they know all of that stuff.
Right. And then there's proper cleanup, proper disposal,
yes,
and leaving no trace.
Yes. We need to not be trashing our beaches.
Right. And, we want to make sure that the companies we're hiring are practicing, good cleanup.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely like something I reiterate to couples. Now, sometimes you can get things like floral arrangements that sit on the ground. If you just tell them we're getting married at the beach, so
right,
like really, really get those flowers in that foam good.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're not raising anything off the ground, you might not need to have a decor company, because
right,
they'll just deliver the flowers and then you just have to pack them out,
Yeah.
and just put them in your trunk or whatever.
Yeah.
But any kind of structural thing, like if you want anything raised up off the ground or an arch or chairs or, like you said, like the raking and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Any kind of structural thing, you need to hire somebody to do it for you.
Yes. And then, if you're wanting beach portraits, you need to really consider, your hair and makeup. If you're wanting your hair down and you want the beach in the background, 9 times out of 10, that wind is going to be blowing
yes,
the opposite direction. So it's, the wind, your hair is going to be in your face.
Yes.
And you need to choose your inspiration wisely.
That's what I tell people constantly.
I saw it firsthand with you. We just did our 1-year anniversary portraits with you, and
woo!
April is windy, y'all.
Yeah.
So, they were beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. My hair looked fantastic when we were still at the hotel, but the minute we got to the beach, the minute we got in that wind,
embrace the beach hair.
Embrace it. We did extensions and everything. Did it hold? No. I'm a professional. Did it hold? No.
I tell everybody that, like, especially like engagement sessions and stuff like that, because that's so they can truly understand it. Because if they are having their wedding on the beach or near the beach later, they're gonna get a trial run, right? Yes. And I tell them to either do like a full updo or at least a half updo or something that they can put up that in a way that they like right in the moment if it's getting to them, because you want the ocean behind you. The wind is pretty much always coming from that direction. Well, that means it's doing this. Yeah. So, and I try to work angles. Sometimes I can like angle you so that the ocean is still behind you, but we're like on an angle so that it's blowing it sort of behind you, but at a certain point, people they want the ocean behind. They don't want it, because in a photo, you're going to see the angle of the sand. It's not going to be like it's not going to be straight lines behind you.
Right.
It's just going to look different. And, we're not doing glam waves at the beach. Like
No, we're not.
Maybe there's somewhere in the world where you can do glam waves at the beach, like Chile or something, where there's like a desert right next to the beach. So it's like, but like probably not. It's not happening.
Not here. No.
And if I'm being honest, like anything south of like Dallas, you shouldn't be trying to be doing glam waves. Like glam waves are for like Minnesota in February or something. There's just, yes. Yeah. Let me advocate for you.
Thank you. From hairstylists in Texas, we thank you.
No, yeah. Just don't. Just don't.
Well, the 3 hours we spend on that hairstyle just to see it all fall in humidity or, because you went to the beach. It's disheartening. Like I spent how much time on that hair?
Yeah. Even just walking outside, like if you were getting married at Tremont House.
Yes.
Just walk outside for a minute. Like today. 2 seconds outside today, boom, it's gone.
Boom.
Doesn't exist anymore.
No. The extensions, they'll help, but once you get in that wind on the beach and that humidity, it's done.
If you have your heart set on glam waves, just don't go outside.
Or book touch-ups.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way. You're going to have to book touch-ups. And that's actually what I do. The only way I will book glam waves in the summer is if you book me for touch-ups.
Yeah.
It's not going to stay. Pick something else. And they do. They pick another hairstyle.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, hair is like so important. There's a couple of things, and people don't think about this because they're thinking about their flowers and they're thinking about favors and da-da-da-da-da. Your hair and makeup is going to be in every photo that you are in.
Every photo. Every single one.
So, and that's another thing too, is like bouquets. Like if you're a person that is like loves the photos with bouquets, like all the different portraits you can do with a bouquet, spend the money on your bouquet and cut some money from some other thing.
Right.
If your wedding budget is a zero-sum game, right? Like, and you need to get the bouquet that you like are dreaming about,
right.
Need to spend $200 extra on your bouquet. Have them put less flowers in all your centerpieces so that you can have it. Because again, that's going to be in so many of your photos,
right?
I do have brides that are like, they carry the bouquet down the aisle and then they don't want to touch it again. Yeah. So they don't care.
Right.
But some people, like you got to sit down and make your priorities. If you're like really about your bouquet, like then spend the money,
right.
So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It does. But there's definitely areas where you can cut and, what you really want, put your effort into that.
I'm a priorities person,
yes.
With all things, like, make a list of everything you think you might want for your wedding and then like literally sit down and prioritize it.
I love that.
Really, each person in the couple should be doing it separately and then y'all come together.
I love that.
There might be some things that overlap. Put more money towards that. There might be some things that like neither one of you cares about. Don't even get them then.
Yeah. I love that.
That's like, I don't know. My husband and I did that. Like he was more about the food and I'm like, that's cool, whatever, but we were both like really about like the venue and the photography,
right.
And then like I had my own, some other priorities and he had some, it makes it easier because you can come together and then also with the photos too, I go over with my couples, like, what are your priorities for your photography? Because a lot of people are like, I need a photographer, but then they never think about like, what actually do I want photographed?
Right.
Because, there's like various parts to the wedding day and it's like, what's most important to you? Usually people will say their ceremony, their group portraits, and their couple portraits. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, some couples are really obsessed with all their details. And like they'll literally put those photos above their couple portraits or their group photos. So you want to make sure you're hiring a photographer who is also obsessed with those things, you know? Like, I'm not a big flat lays kind of girl. You guys see those, gorgeous photos of like the invitation suite with like all the flowers and the ribbons and all that stuff. No, I'll do them.
Yeah.
But like, I have a photographer friend who is like very about that stuff too. And it's very important to her clients. So she actually does flat lay photos on a separate day from the wedding.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So like she gets together with the couple or the bride or whoever, and like it's like a 2-hour thing, and like, I helped her do it once, and I was like, oh my God. My clients are not like this, I will do if somebody wants it because they're, they really want like kind of every portion of the day as much as I can get.
Right.
I'll do it. I usually like sanction off like 30 minutes for that, and I just do what I can.
Right.
In that amount of time. So it's not going to be what she produces because she's doing it for 2 hours, and I'm, trying to do it in the moment with what's around, because I'm also very like, I don't want anything in my couple's photos that wasn't there on the wedding day. And she has a whole like kit, like a whole art kit for it. So, that's like when you're interviewing people, like it's gauging that, like what's important to them. Because I tell them too, like if our timeline gets behind and I have to cut time somewhere, I'm cutting time from things to focus on people.
Right.
So if I can't photograph your reception setup for 30 minutes, like, I'm going to take whatever I can get in 10 minutes so that I can add the other 20 minutes to your couple portraits, because that's what you said was the most important to you. And
right.
So, again, that's like managing the timeline and like knowing ahead of time what their priorities are and having them understand that if something gets messed up, this is what's going to get ejected.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and speaking of, managing timelines, and I know I had asked you earlier about, crazy days and things just going sideways. I just wanted to bring up Senior Skip Day.
Oh, yes.
You and I had
that was a day.
we had an elopement on Jamaica Beach, and I was en route having a panic attack, blowing your phone up.
Yeah.
Because we were at a standstill. And the high schoolers had taken over Jamaica Beach.
Yeah.
And it was insanity. And we still somehow, got there, finally got to the bride. Took us 45 minutes to go 4 miles.
Yeah.
Luckily, you were able to come down 288, come in the backside and miss most of that. But, we still got the bride ready on time for you.
Yeah.
And it worked out, but not without, Oh.
Yeah, that's an adjustments in the moment thing.
Yeah.
And just keeping the couple abreast of like what's going on, because that was like a thing that we didn't know was happening.
Yeah.
There's other things that we know when Mardi Gras is happening. We know when Jeep Weekend is happening. We know when Lone Star Rally is happening. We know all of these things, but like sometimes things just happen.
Yeah.
And
so, for those who aren't familiar with the island, Jamaica Beach is going to be the west end of the island. And once you get past a certain point, there's only one way.
Yeah.
There's only one major
road.
vein. There's no other option. So if there's an accident, if there's a roadblock, there's no way around it.
No.
You're stuck.
Yeah.
And that was what we found ourselves in.
Yeah.
Fun time. So things to consider, especially when you're choosing a location. You want to get ready at a beach house. Well, choose that beach house wisely. If your venue is on the east end and you chose a beach house on the west end, that travel time, it's going. That travel time
from East Beach to the San Luis Pass is like 45 minutes with regular
traffic.
Yeah, without any like any impediment, like just regular traffic.
Right.
I mean, we joke about it takes an hour to get to Houston from Houston, but like it also takes an hour to get from Galveston Island to Galveston Island. No, I do. When people tell me like where they want to get married, if they already know what beach they want to go to, I always recommend getting a place near that.
Right.
So we're not cutting back and forth, because it can get pretty wild.
Yes. And then, you're cutting down the time that you could be photographing and the couple could be spending with each other, but instead you're traveling back and forth, and the more tourists there are on the island, the longer it's going to take you to get from point A to point B, and
especially on a Saturday, any Saturday. Holiday weeks, spring break, all of these.
Yeah. We also have marathons, festivals. Parts of the island can be shut down at any moment, any weekend. So always check that calendar.
Yeah.
And it's hard because some of those events, just pop up.
Yeah. There's a new festival, or there's a new this, or
something got bigger.
Yeah.
Or something really blew up on TikTok.
Or they moved locations. Or,
locations are always changing, so that's a big thing, too.
We just had, for anybody that has Paramount Plus, we just had 1923 here last summer filming all over the island.
Yes.
So all kinds of roads were shut down.
Yes, they were.
So.
Yeah. So you can get married at Ashton Villa, where they filmed 1923. Get a little piece of history with your wedding.
And Grand Galvez.
And the Grand Galvez, as well as the Railroad Museum.
Yes, they filmed some in there.
So all of those are venues that you can get married at, which are on the big screen, and it's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I love it. I really do. And then we have carriage house rentals down here, so you can come down and rent a Model T golf cart and cruise around town with that little nostalgic vintage, style. I mean, it's really fun. The horns, they're cute. It's a fun time. We highly recommend going down and checking out Carriage House and, getting that old vibe and a little Yellowstone to your trip.
I love those little cars. They're fun. Yeah. They're fun. They're slow. They are slow.
They are slow,
but they're fun.
Yeah. They're electric, but they're really comfortable. They're very nice. The seats, everything about it.
Yeah. Pretty easy in and out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they, going up the hills, we took it up, what was it? The San Luis, their valet. They won't let you park at a valet, by the way. So don't try it.
Don't do that.
So, anything that you would want to leave our listeners with?
As far as photography goes, I would say, like I said earlier, we are a service-based business, but the final thing is a product. And I wish that more couples would think about after what they're going to do with their photos.
Yeah.
Because they're really just focused on like getting the photographer booked. Computers are where photos go to die. So I would think about like wall art, an album. I wish more couples would order albums, because, there's umpteen interviews out there in the wedding space about things that couples wish they would have done. And so many of them say, I wish I would have bought an album. I wish I would have had somebody design an album for me. Like, it is an extra expense, but it's the final product. Because you're going to get hundreds of photos. If you have a 8-hour wedding day, you're going to get 600, 800, maybe 1,000 photos, depending on the photographer. You're not going to sit there and there's going to be like 100 pictures that you're like, I love these pictures.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe not even that many, maybe like 50 pictures. Those are going to be the ones that you love. Get an album,
yeah,
because that is the actual story of your day told in the very best pictures of those moments. So, this is what it looked like. This is what it felt to be there. These were the most important people that were there that day with us. That's to me, that is the actual final product. Like when I'm shooting, the whole time I'm thinking about shooting for an album. So I do wish more couples would think about that. Like just budget that in. Like again, if your budget is a zero-sum game, there's things you can cut, like it's funny because if you go into like any bride group, people will be talking about favors and like almost every comment will be like, you don't need favors. Nobody cares about them. They're going to be left on the table at the end of the night and you're going to see how much money you wasted.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, and I would actually rather have people hire me for less hours and buy an album from me. Like,
yeah,
that's because to me, that is the most important thing. So that's a tip that I would say, like, in terms of photography is like, think about after the wedding, like, this is what you have left of your wedding, other than maybe like, if you did like some kind of little like joining together ceremony, like sand ceremony or any of those kinds of things. Like you have a couple of decorations and your pictures.
Yeah.
You should put them into a book so that you can enjoy them actually, because you're not going to go back on your computer and go through, and they're not doing you any good on your phone.
No.
Like they're just not. They need to be on the wall. They need to be in a book. They need to be somewhere where you can like touch it.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
That's my tip.
That's an awesome tip.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to have you on here. You've got a lot of valuable insights into Galveston, into photography, into just tips for couples with planning their wedding or their pre-wedding event. And I'm really excited for the future and for our upcoming tips, resources, and things that we're going to be putting on the website. Please like this. Please share this. Please follow us, and please visit us at marriedonisland.com. Thank y'all so much for joining us.